Now when we play this back, yeah, it's good, but you know what? Something still tells me really that this layer here is quite unnecessary. Okay, let's see. If you press U, okay, that's the position it has. I want to turn off all its settings. And let's see. Where's our map here? Okay. Let's see. It looks like we really do not need it. So I'm going to select it and hit delete on the keyboard. Yeah, that way, of course, we are back to what we had earlier. Map of the Earth. Remember to turn off the zoom because it's really memory consuming. So now, you can see, of course, that tries to zoom in. Just how big is this map? Let's see. Okay, you can see its size. That means, of course, our layer here, our Earth map here, just move this keyframe a bit out of the way. And then we're going to zoom the scale of our map to make it a bit bigger. And also, of course, keep it in line with what it will eventually fit into. Bring the opacity back. So basically what we have is something like this. Okay, move that again out of the way. Scale this up again and again, of course. Remember, the idea is to make them fit together. So what happens now? Let's do it like that. Now the blur has to do its job. Turn on the blur. And let's see what we get. Okay, it zooms in. Now these keys here have to be a bit spread apart. This value we're going to push to 30. Okay, and even there we keep it at 20. Okay, before of course it blurs out. What is that value there? 30. Okay, what is that one? 19. Make it 25. Okay, because we really need a big zooming to take place there. Preview there. And then let's just move a bit more forward. I think here we can actually, no, this key here, not that one, the one there. If you push it to 60, see what happens. Okay, you see that. Yeah, I think we have to push it to 60. And then over there, the next key as well. Yeah, make it 60 as well. Okay. And the beginning key as well, make it 50. Okay, so that the values are really high, so that we have a very big zooming in effect. And also at the same time, I'm just going to hide this layer for now. This layer too needs to be played with, the scaling especially. So we're going to create the keyframes there for the scaling. Okay, that means of course in the beginning it should be smaller than what it is, so we are going to scale it down. But unfortunately by scaling it down you can see we have cut off edges, so I'm going to undo that. Instead it looks like you have to go back to our original one that we had. So let's delete this layer here and bring back the one that we had a bit earlier. I wonder which one was. Yeah, perhaps it was this one here. Just confirm. Press S, bring it down. Let's try to put it on top of this one here. Press Shift T and bring down the opacity. Okay, move forward and move this key here a bit out of the way. Yeah, now select the Arabia map. So can you see how it fits in there? Okay. Okay. I don't think this will cut it really. So instead, let's set it back to 100. We're going to move it below here. Bring up the map called Africa satellite, because it's the nearest region close to this one. Move it on top of the Earth satellite map. Yeah, you see what it looks like? Press T and Shift S. Then just scale it. Sorry, reduce the opacity a bit. So you can see, of course, where we are going to. It has to fit, of course, what this one looks like. So that's what it is. Yeah, reduce the opacity a bit. Yeah, and then let me just see, we're really trying everything to make it fit with this one here. So we're then going to select this one. Let's have these keys here and delete them. And then again begin to scale things and move them, of course. Yeah, now we almost have a perfect match. See that, eh? Now, there we go. Now they really fit into each other. Perfect, okay? Yeah, this is truly brilliant, okay? And then, let me just check again. Let's just confirm that they must really fit. Yes, they do, okay? Then, once we've done that, now we're going to move the Africa satellite map below it, okay? Then move this keyframe, of course, there. So that, of course, the effect that we have is that we're going to zoom in like that, okay? Okay? So we're going to zoom in like that. Alright. That means, of course, the Africa satellite map, we have to tune up the opacity all the way to 100. Let's confirm again, so we zoom in like that. Okay. And also the Africa satellite map, of course, you have to play with its opacity. It has got to start from nothing to 0. Okay. So what happens, of course, we are going to zoom in into it like that, okay? Move this, of course, a bit out of the way. Yeah, that's much better, okay? And of course, our zoom should help a lot. Yeah, it should really help. Now when we preview this, can you see what we're having? Now the zooming, of course, is much more believable. Now perhaps we are overdoing it in that key there, so select that key for the zoom and delete that. Okay? And also select that key, press F9 to easy in. F9 as well, okay? Now when you play this back, much better. Now, of course, as you can see, the color correction is a bit too intense around this region here. So select this adjustment layer there, hit return, and then recall it color corrector. Okay. And the color corrector here, I think it's the levels that needs to be adjusted. Let's see, if you press T, if you bring it down, you can see the impact it has. Okay. If you bring it up to 100 again, yeah, you can see the impact it has again. Okay, so what needs to happen is that we're going to create stopwatches for the effects that it has. Effects CC toner. Let's see. Yeah, I believe it's these ones. I'm wondering which one it is actually. Is it the levels? Yes, it is. So we are going to create a stopwatch on the histogram. Press U. As you can see, of course, the histogram is the one to be adjusted. Move this key a bit backwards. And then, of course, in here, we're going to move things a bit subtly. See that because the histogram was really pushed high, that's why of course our map looked quite too brightened for our liking. You see, that's much better. Okay. Let's see, of course that has to be easy in, and let's see from where should it start. Well, it can start from there. Okay, now when we play this back, you see that? Now that is much better. Okay. And then when we've come out of here, when we've zoomed in here, of course we need now the map of the area to begin to appear. So let's drag the it's already actually there, the Arabia map. It's there already. Perfect. Now this map of Africa here will need to be adjusted. We're going to press Shift P on the keyboard to bring up the position, and of course let's create a keyframe there for that. And then of course we need to wipe it out of the screen, so we are going to simply move it to the side. You see that? On the x-axis. Okay, simple and forgivable, or rather simple and acceptable transition there. Okay, we've done nothing wrong. We've simply gone from one layer to the next. Okay, let's just see how it happens again. Now when that happens, we have the color corrector there. And then let's see, select the keyframe in the beginning. We go to edit, copy, and then we go to edit, paste. Okay, because as you can see, of course, it makes things really nice and brightened up. Press F9. Okay, great. Okay, and then I think let's add one more effect. Stylize Globe. If the glow color was set to an orange one, let's see, lighten. Nah, this will just make things a bit too much for the eye to absorb. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, so we are then going to have that, okay, in which we move to this transition here. Okay, and then of course when we are here, that's when we're finally going to have our final animation of things. Yeah, and that's when of course these guys here will appear in the scene. Yeah, the track target and the track rotator. The target track and the target rotator. Okay, that's the time to have the moment to shine. Okay. Now at this point, here's what needs to happen. Let's see. First of all, let's see. We are first going to turn off. No. I think let's actually first have an overall view of what we've done so far. And that means we actually have to go to the beginning as well to add some zooming effect as well. Okay, so in the beginning here, we're going to copy these keyframes here for the zooming, and of course paste them right there. Okay, and of course they have to be in sync. In other words, yeah, they have to happen when we are zooming out. Okay, so it has to start from there, zooming out. Okay, and zooming in again, of course, edit, paste. As you can see, we are really saving a lot of time so that we don't have to keyframe things over and over again. Okay, so we'll get out of here and then we zoom. Remember, they have to happen in sync. Okay, just confirm, of course, that the zooming, you see that? It looks like they're happening in sync. Okay, so let's see what we've done so far. Check what we've got. We have a nice beginning there with our operation lock on. And we zoom out, of course. zoom in, and again. Aha, okay. So far so good. Now up next, let's see. And you know how we do it normally, of course. To make things quicker, we are going to turn off the blur zoom layer effect. And then let's move on forward. And let's see. Where are we? We are here. Yeah, this position transition here, we're going to split it a bit apart. Press F9 to make it smooth, of course. And let's see. Let's move up to there. And up to here. Yeah. Now, this is the time for our trackers to come into play. Select the target tracker. Press P for the position. As you can see, we create a keyframe there. We're going to move just a bit forward in time, and now at this time here, we're going to move the tracker right there. Sorry. I believe we're working on the wrong layer. Which layer should it be? Let's see. Yes, it is a target tracker. Oh my goodness. We're working on it while it's still disabled. You see that? Okay. So now that it's in view, we're going to create a keyframe there for the position. And yeah, and then sorry, just move forward in time, and then we're going to move its position right to the side like that, and up the screen. Okay, like that, but it has to be really completely out. Yeah, like that. Okay. And then, so basically all along it was there, right? Now it's out of the screen, right? So that means, of course, now we have to bring it back in. And to bring it back in, we're simply going to select it, of course. Sorry. Yeah, simply move it down and to the side. As long as the content remains visible, of course, through the scene. You see that, eh? You see that? That's how it comes, okay? But of course, we have a little problem. That is, the text positions have to be adjusted. So let's select both our texts. Press P for the position. Up to here. Yeah, up to here, we're going to create keyframes, of course, for their positions. And then when things begin to behave like there, that's when, of course, we are then going to move them in tune with those layers there. Okay. And then also, let's do this. We're going to turn off the appearance, and then turn them back again to target tracker. Okay. Yeah, that way, hopefully, yeah, they're locked on properly now. Okay. Okay. Never mind the fact that they're still in the scene right now. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. So when this happens, here's what needs to happen. First of all, we have to check whether our rotations are going well. Okay. Never mind what happens before here. In fact, right in the beginning here, we're going to press Shift T to bring up the opacity. Yeah, you can turn it to 0 for now. Yeah. Move a frame ahead. Set them to 100. So that means, of course, you have to select these keys here. Sorry. Yeah, select these keys here for each one of them. Move them like that, okay? Yeah. So now they will come like that, you see? But then at this point they have to be, the opacity has to be set back to 100 quickly. Let's just do this. Yeah, move them very close. Yeah, like that. Even closer. Okay, so that it will appear like that. Okay. Now we have to create a little preview of the scene right now. Okay, so that we can see, of course, whether our syncing is correct. When we play back the scene, you can see, of course, what's happening. They're coming too quickly for our liking. So we have to spread apart. No, we don't have to. Yeah, we have to spread apart the position of the timer tracker. Okay, so we're going to spread it a bit apart like that. Okay, so that it comes in a bit smoothly. And of course, press F9 to make things a bit smoother. Sorry, we shouldn't do it. Just click Control click. Move this a bit closer again. And then we're going to copy the opacity information of our layer there. Edit, copy. Let's go to the target tracker. Okay. And of course there we go to edit, paste, press U and U again. Yeah. Where is this supposed to come from? Okay, around there. That's when they're supposed to begin to appear. Okay, so select them along with the text, of course, and move them, of course, to a bit earlier in time. So what will happen is that they'll come like that. Now, of course, we still have a problem with our target tracker there. So around here, they shouldn't be visible, right? Its position is quite questionable. I'm going to turn off the keyframes for the position for it. Turn it back on again. So this time, yeah, move it again out of the scene. And then again, animate it back into the scene. Like that. One straight line, okay? Yeah, like that, okay? Much better. Okay, so it will start from nowhere and of course come right into the scene. That way we can select the opacity keys and delete them. We don't need them, okay? So it will start out of outside and come, of course, into the play. Again, let's test. Again, too quick. And again, these text layers here, the keyframes have to be brought all the way there. Okay. And the positions as well. And just put it again like that. Yeah, now we have, you see that there? Now our target object nicely comes into the scene, okay? Okay. Now target tracker, it seems the opacity is set to 0, so back to 100, okay? And then the lock-on rotator, we're going to play now with its rotation. Click on the stopwatch there for the rotation. Move forward up to there. Then yeah, move that key there. Now in the beginning, it needs to be spinning around. So we're going to rotate it, of course, backwards like that. All the way to minus, I don't know, whichever unit suits you, you know? Because it has to be spinning very fast when it comes in. and let's see. Just spread this a bit further apart. This key here, how about we enter the minus 120? Okay. So what we have now is this. You see how it spins beautifully there? You see that there? And in fact, because it seems to be so unnoticeable, let's go to Effects, Color Correction, CC Toner for the lock-on rotator. For the highlight, of course, let's give it a different color, perhaps a red. There we go. Now, of course, we will be able to tell when it's spinning like that. Okay. The target tracker itself, also add a CC toner and give it a nice blue. That's, of course, if it's visible easily. Click and Alt click so that we can just see what can be done with this. We're just going to increase its brush size. Let's see. Oh, it seems that's the biggest we can get. Okay. So yeah, let's just go back. Main comp. Yeah, so now of course there are different colors. Okay. And now is the time, of course, to begin to play around with our text again. Okay, in the beginning, we have our title there. Oh, sorry. It seems our texts have changed their positions again. So let's select our text layers. Where are they at this point in time? Oh, the opacity is set to 0. Okay, it's fine. Let's select our text layers. Set the opacity to 100 in the beginning. As you can see, of course, they're occupying a space somewhere on the roof there. So we're going to bring them, of course, into position where they ought to be. With text 2. Okay, there it is. Bring it, of course, down. And move them. Delete that key there. Position it like that. Remember, this is the key they start. These are the keys they start with. It keeps shifting about. Let's do that. Delete that key. Select this key. Go to Edit, Copy, Move Forward, Edit, Paste. Okay. You can see it's still shifting about. That has to do with the target tracker because they're parented to them. Okay. Okay, there's of course a simple way to solve all this mess. We simply come here and select the target, the text, and make the parents to be none. That way, of course, we have full control as to what happens when, and then turn off the position stopwatches. And now allow us, of course, maintain the positions where they ought to be. Perfect. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, like that. Okay. So it starts off with, yeah, our text there. Leave no man behind. And then, of course, at this point, somewhere here they have to disappear. Let's see. Select those keyframes ahead. Delete them. So at this, yeah, they have to disappear around this point here. So we go to the times, of course, text 1. Yeah, and of course, here we're going to click on the stopwatches for the source text and the start option. And of course, as well as the scaling of our layer here and its opacity. And then we move one step ahead. And then we're going to change the scaling here to 0, of course. opacity to 0. Okay. The texts as well. We're going to change the start to, of course, 0, like that. Okay. Let's just confirm that. Okay, we have to do the same, of course, here. Scaling and opacity. Just confirm something. Okay. Scaling and opacity and source text. Make even turn on the scale option as well. Okay. And then yeah. And then when we are here, just move a few frames ahead. Yeah. Turn the opacity to 0 and the scale, of course. Oh my goodness. We've forgotten something very important. Let's just zoom in here. Can you see the value there? And we're going to uncheck the lock, select that last keyframe, delete, move forward. Let's see if this was still 100. Now here, of course, we're going to turn that to 0. Sorry, 0. Yeah. Okay. Turn the opacity back to 0, of course, as well. So, of course, we should have it retreating. Yeah, like that. Okay. Perfect. Let's go to the second one, of course. Uncheck the lock. So at this point, it should be set to 0. Okay. And then as for here, the source text will be set to 0, and the scaling, of course, let's just create a keyframe there, and of course the source text as well. So it starts there and then it writes itself off. When we have the main comp, what happens is that we have them like that, and then of course they erase themselves. So and then we'll get here, okay, after they erase themselves there, we get here, and while we are here,